I left my husband at the hospital after he refused to be in the delivery room with me. My labor started at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. I woke up Jake with contractions that felt like my entire stomach was trying to turn inside out. He groaned and rolled over, telling me to time them first and wake him up when they were 5 minutes apart. By 6 a.m., I was doubled over in pain and practically screaming at him to get dressed. The drive to the hospital was pure hell. Jake was driving like we were going to a grocery store, not rushing to deliver our first baby. Every red light made me want to punch him. When we got there, I could barely walk and had to lean on him just to make it through the parking lot. The nurses got me checked in and hooked up to all the monitors. That's when Jake decided to tell me he wasn't comfortable being in the delivery room. Not uncomfortable. Not comfortable. Like watching me push out his kid was some kind of optional activity he could just skip. I stared at him like he'd grown a second head. We'd talked about this for months. He'd been to every single appointment, heard the heartbeat, felt the baby kick. But now, when it actually mattered, he was backing out. He said seeing me in pain was too hard for him and he'd rather wait in the hallway. Too hard for him. I was the one who'd been carrying this baby for 9 months, throwing up every morning, unable to sleep because of heartburn and constant kicks to my ribs. But sure, watching was the hard part. The nurse looked at both of us like we were insane. She asked if he was serious, and Jake just nodded and said he'd be right outside if I needed anything. Then he actually kissed my forehead like that made it okay and walked out. So there I was, alone, pushing out our daughter while he sat in the waiting room probably scrolling through his phone. The delivery took 14 hours. 14 hours of the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life, and he wasn't there for any of it. When our daughter finally came out, the first person to hold her after me was the nurse. Not her dad, not my husband, a stranger who'd been more supportive than the man who helped make her. Jake came in about 20 minutes later, all smiles and excitement, wanting to hold the baby and take pictures. He started talking about how beautiful she was and how proud he was. Proud of what? He hadn't done anything except hide in the hallway like a coward. The nurse handed him our daughter, and he immediately started crying and saying how this was the most amazing day of his life. I wanted to throw something at him. He missed her first breath, her first cry, everything, because he was too much of a baby to handle watching me give birth. Then he had the nerve to ask if I was okay and why I looked so angry. Like he genuinely couldn't understand why I might be upset that he abandoned me during the biggest moment of our lives. I looked at him holding our daughter and told him to get out. He laughed like I was kidding and said we should call our families to let them know she was here. I told him again to leave, and this time I wasn't kidding. He tried to argue, saying he was just trying to protect himself from trauma and that I should understand. Protect himself from trauma. While I'd just spent almost a full day pushing his child out of my body completely alone. I called the nurse and asked her to have him removed from the room. Jake looked shocked and kept asking what the big deal was, that he was there now and that's what mattered. But it wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that when I needed him most, he chose himself. He left the hospital that night, and I stayed for 2 more days with our daughter. He kept texting me asking when we were coming home and if I was still mad about something so stupid. Stupid. That's what he called abandoning me during childbirth. I went home, packed his stuff, and left it on the porch. When he came by to pick it up, he said I was being dramatic, and that lots of men don't like being in delivery rooms. Maybe that's true, but lots of men also don't make that decision while their wife is already in labor. We're divorced now.